We have a theme garden of plants that we want to show you before the end of the season. It's a collection of plants from the land of Oz, an Australian plants garden. And a lot of the plants in Australia are no stranger to high temperatures, so they do pretty well in the summertime weather we have here in Oklahoma. Well, one of the first things I want to show you is this little plant right down here, and it doesn't have a lot of flowers on it this late in the year, but this is the Swan River daisy. Little pale purple daisy with these very fine small leaves. These are native to the western part of Australia, and actually in the city of Perth in Western Australia, the Swan River winds its way through that city. These plants are named for that river. But back in the summer we had a lot more flower production and a little bit more color in this spot. Well, right back here we've got another plant from the western part of Australia. This is the kangaroo's paws, and it's a plant that is in the agave family. It's got the strap-like foliage, sort of a rosette forming type of plant without any above ground stems other than for the flower stalks. And the flower stalks here have finished flowering for the year. These have long since faded and kind of turned brown, but back in the season, the growing season, these were a bright red orange. And you can see these sometimes in Australia where the colors are pink, orange, red, yellow, and some that are even green and black. And the flower structure itself sort of looks like the paw of a kangaroo. Well, right over here, we've got a tree in this garden. This is a silver dollar eucalyptus, and of the thousands of eucalyptus species of tree in Australia, this is one that is quite spectacular. And pretty much everywhere you go in Australia, some species of eucalyptus is the dominant tree in the area. Eucalyptus have some pretty potent compounds in the sap that are in the leaves and stems, and there are 4 species of eucalyptus that are the sole food of the koala bear. Well, because the koalas feed on the eucalyptus with those potent compounds, it keeps it in sort of a drug-like state for a lot of its life. And usually if you see a koala in the wild in Australia, it's usually sleeping. Well, right over here is another tree in our Australian plants collection. This is a tree fern. Now, this is a plant that is not winter hardy in still water. We take it in the greenhouse in the wintertime, and this year it's grown very well. It's got a lot of these really huge fronds on the plant here. The trunk that the tree fern produces is actually a trunk, sort of like a tree. It's very rot resistant. The material that the tree fern's trunk is made of, these are sometimes used to line roads or to even build small structures. And in certain places in Australia, New Zealand, and other places in the world, some of these tree ferns can get up to 60 feet tall with fronds that are 15 feet long. So that's a 60-foot tall tree fern with a 30-foot canopy. Quite impressive. Another interesting thing about the tree fern and the trunk is that it can survive fire. About 80% of the trees in Australia have the ability to regrow after a fire comes through, and the tree fern is one that fits into that category. Well, right down here we have a showy little daisy that a lot of you are probably familiar with. This is a straw flower. It sometimes goes by the name of everlasting. And if we look at those flowers, and if you can kind of hear that noise when you rake your finger across this part of the flower, it sort of sounds like you're touching straw, wheat straw or something like that. And the flowers are unique. Right here I've got a Shasta daisy, and if you look at a straw flower, the inner flowers here, the disc florets, are all the flowers that are there. The ray florets, like we have on a regular daisy that some people might refer to as petals, which they're not petals, they're actual whole flowers, like we have right here. You would think that these would be ray florets on the straw flower. Well, they're not rayflorts. They're actually called involucral bracts. And if you look at the back of the flower, you can see kind of where they start, even small, way down here at the base of the stem there. But they're not rayflorts. They're actually a type of bract that we have on the straw flower. Great plant for bedding in containers here in Oklahoma. Well, right down here, we have another plant that, of all the plants in our Australia garden, this is the only one that's going to be winter hardy here in Oklahoma. This is blue star creeper, Laurentia fluviatilis. And we like it because it's very low growing, it's got tiny leaves, and it has a very nice mat-like habit. We've grown it here for about 8 years in our studio garden in different places. And in the springtime, it has a pale blue flower that's very showy. Well, I'm glad we had time to say good day to all of these plants here in our Australian garden before the end of the season.